Religion played a large part in those who came to the Americas from Europe. Many were seeking religious freedoms. Historically, every religion has been discriminated against in some form. People not only tend to advocate for their own views, but put down others to make themselves seem more correct. This land originally held the many different beliefs of the Native Americans. A connection to earth was almost universal. It was not necessarily a set religion, but more a part of life. White Europeans brought Christianity in its many forms. St. Augustine, Florida, was the first white settlement bringing the Catholic religion. Jamestown, Virginia, followed, bringing the Church of England, which was once Catholic, until King Henry wanted to divorce his wife, and so created his own religion, commonly referred to as Anglican. In December of 1620, a religious group of people called Separatists landed at Plymouth Rock in modern-day Massachusetts. Of the 100 people who landed, about half survived the first year on this new land. The local Wampanoag tribe taught the native English how to survive, and inadvertently gave way to the tradition of Thanksgiving in 1621. This group of separatists, so called because they separated themselves from the Church of England, which 100 years earlier had separated from the Catholic Church, were a very religious group of people who wanted to revert to the pure beliefs in the Bible. At that time, disagreeing with the Church of England was akin to treason. Almost 200 years later, the separatists were given the name Pilgrims, which means a traveler who journeys for a religious reason. A similar but distinct group of religious people, the Puritans, also disagreed with the Church of England, but instead of separating themselves from the Church, they tried to reform it from within to make it more pure. This group had more money and a larger following. They decided they could make a better church in the New World and arrived at a slightly different location in Massachusetts. By 1640, there were about 10,000 Puritans and less than 3,000 Separatists. Eventually, the two groups melded together. It is said that while both groups of people sought religious freedoms for themselves, they essentially denied it for others and believed their way was better than others. Roger Williams, arriving as a Puritan, disagreed with the rigidity of the church in Massachusetts and started his own following, creating the First Baptist Church. He advocated for the separation of church and state and equality for everyone, including Native Americans. He was then banished from Massachusetts and helped make Rhode Island a haven for religious freedom. Yet another group of Christians arrived in Massachusetts in the 1650s. This group, the Quakers, also called the Friends, was immediately shunned by the Puritans. They established their own colony in Pennsylvania, named after William Penn, who was granted the land by the English king. Penn invited all religions to live in peace. Quakers were at the center of the movement to abolish slavery, and the anti-slavery feelings spread throughout the northern states. After a while, the religions were able to establish a minimum respect for each other and their religions and help establish the framework for the governing of this land with many different religions. Many more stories of religious groups coming to America for religious freedoms abound, along with many more stories of that religious freedom being denied and threatened. It is perhaps surprising, or unsurprising, depending on how you look at it, that the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution states, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances."